Support for the Lancast is provided by Winey Way Books and Pennsylvania College of Art and Design.
Welcome to the Lancast. I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser. Joining us this week is author Angie Piazza.
Angie shares about some of the trauma that inspired her to write her book, Buoyancy.
Well, when I had the surgery, my surgeon had told me that it would be a 4-week recovery time, and when I woke up, I was not able to move at all.
We also go more into depth on what it was like growing up with Morquio syndrome.
Everyday life was difficult because of those operations. I had to stop my life and then start it again. I had to learn how to be humble and accept the fact that I couldn't walk in school anymore and shifted into a wheelchair and then run people over because they were getting in my way.
Enjoy the conversation.
Angie, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
So you wrote a book called Buoyancy. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. About 2.5 years ago, I had an operation on my neck and back, and it didn't go as planned. A few bad things happened, and here I am writing a book and describing what happened during that time and the struggles that I had to get to where I am right now.
What was the need for the surgery?
I was having some instability in my neck and back that could have caused some paralysis, slipping of the discs, which could damage my nerves throughout my spinal cord, and they were concerned with that, so they felt the need to do something very immediate and drastic.
Well, obviously the surgery was a success, but what were some of the process from getting that done?
Well, when I had the surgery, my surgeon had told me that it would be a 4-week recovery time, and when I woke up, I was not able to move at all. He didn't know what happened, and I had to stay in the hospital for a while and then go into rehab for 2 months. And from then until 2 years later, I've been recovering, going to PT, and just trying to regain everything that was lost. That was caused by the surgery.
Are there any particular struggles that you've been dealing with?
My right side is worse than the left, and one of the things that I tend to deal with daily that I notice the most is that I can't write with my hand anymore. I was right-handed, so I've now become left-handed. I have some problems with stability and walking and stamina, and I have to take a lot of medication, so I've had to adjust my life and daily things to accommodate the medication and all of the problems that arrived from the surgery complications.
Where'd you come up with the name Buoyancy? Like, what was your inspiration for calling the book Buoyancy?
I was struggling with a name for the book because I personally judge books by their covers, so I wanted to come up with something that was simple, but still could have a deep meaning if someone chose to look at it that way. So just the thought of being buoyant, floating in the water, maybe sinking under and then bouncing back up. I see myself as that kind of person who has a lot of difficulties and will overcome them and choose to do so no matter what. So it's kind of that imagery that I really liked and just the whole idea behind that word.
So it had nothing to do with buzzing on the drugs that you were...
Oh, that might have something to do with it. That caused me to bounce and go high and all of that good stuff.
So what was the turning point where you decided that you were going to take this difficult time in your life and turn it into something that could inspire other people?
I usually get the question, what are you doing? As in with your career, whatever, something like that. And I always have to go through the whole explanation of why I'm currently not working and on long-term disability. And so they always ask, oh, well, you should sue that doctor. Or, oh, you should write a book about that. So I chose the book writing after I tried to sue my doctor. So both I have done. And it just so happened one month I came upon this website called National Novel Writing Month, where you basically spend the entire month of November and you are to write a 50,000 word book, which is about 175 pages. So that really kicked me in the butt to get moving, and I was able to get it down on my computer and just get it started. So that was my big push, and here I am with the book and my first proof.
Were there any challenges from not being necessarily a book writer beforehand that you had to overcome during this process?
Yes, I did a lot of research on writing books, memoirs specifically. They're actually my favorite genre to read, so I've done a lot of reading, other types of autobiographies or memoirs, and also how to write, because in high school I wasn't encouraged as a writer. I actually felt like I was pretty inadequate in that area, so that was one of my huge obstacles to overcome, to be actually confident in what I was writing and that it was something that people would want to read.
You were saying earlier about complications that you're having or had with your right hand and becoming left-handed now and everything. Did you find in writing the book, I'm not sure if you typed it or how you wrote it, did you have any problems getting the keyboard? Because, I mean, I don't have any problems with my right hand, and I still have trouble getting the keyboard to type what I wanted to. So I don't know if that's...
I mean, it took me a little longer than I would have before the surgery, and I did type it. I wasn't handwriting things because I get pretty pissed when I'm writing, and I think faster than I can write. But I did the typing. I also had a software that I could speak, and it typed it for me. So I used a little bit of both and then just pushed through it and got it done.
I want to also backtrack just a little bit to some of the time when you were paralyzed. I mean, I don't know if there's any way for anyone to really understand what that feels like without experiencing it, but I'm curious to know how was that for you? Was it terrifying? Did you find yourself losing hope, or what was that experience like?
When I first woke up, it was kind of like, am I dreaming? Am I still under the influence of my anesthesia, or what's going on here? It was pretty surreal feeling. And I felt like I could move, but when I would feel my arm up in the air and I would ask my mom, what is my arm doing up? I can't put it down. She's like, it's not up. And she would lift my arm for me. So it was like an out-of-body experience. I mean, you still feel your body, you just cannot move it. So it was pretty frustrating. The doctors would come in every day telling me, okay, move your feet, move your toes, move your fingers. And I would try, and they would ask me over and over, I'm like, I am, and just make it worse than what it was. I just wanted them to just leave me be and deal with it in my own mind and time. And as I would go on, I would feel myself getting frustrated with not being able to do what they were asking me to do in physical therapy, for instance. I had to learn how to sit up again, and I would feel like I was sitting straight, but I was not. So they would tell me, okay, try it again, you're not doing it right, and just things like that, simple things that people take for granted every day, I wasn't able to do, and it took a long time to actually relearn, and get things figured out and situated with learning my new body, basically, because it's still not the same with the feeling and the nerves and all of the different functionality problems that it has right now.
Along with being paralyzed, could you feel your limbs, or was there no feeling as well?
There was feeling, it just was a different feeling, like a feeling of heaviness, almost like someone was sitting on my arm or my leg, or moving it for me. And I had one experience often where my arms felt like they were shoved behind my back when I was laying down, and it just would go on and on and on, and the only way to stop that feeling was for my mom to lift my arm up and show it to me so my eyes could see it and connect the nerves in my brain and all of that together. So it was really freaky, just not normal feeling.
Painful?
Yes, it was very painful. It was a different kind of pain. Normally I'm used to like aches or joint pain, arthritis, osteoporosis, all of that. So having the nerve pain on top of it was completely different than what I was used to before. So it was harder for me to just switch it in my head and think of something else. I really had to work on that.
Was there anything during that time or any people, I mean, I know you mentioned your mother, that really inspired you and really helped you to stay on track and to keep pushing as sort of a motivation to keep going?
Yes, I definitely, like you said, my mom was my rock. She always was there for me, came in to rehab morning and night, just was there for me all the time. There was actually one woman in rehab that kind of was annoying at first. I would hear her coming down the hallway moaning and just screaming at the top of her lungs. I was like, what the heck is this lady doing? And then one day I met her in physical therapy, and she looked at me and she's just like thinking. I can see her brain working, and she's like, are you 12? Like, no, what 12-year-old has these boobs? And everyone just started dying laughing. So people like her, she was sincere in her question, but after that she would always be on my side and my team, yelling across the room, "Go, Angie," when I was trying to walk, and it was pretty embarrassing, but she definitely lightened things and put things into a different perspective and kind of shifted the gears. Just things like that. The nurses were great. I think they liked me because most of the patients were over the age of 70 with hip replacements or broken bones in their wrists or knee replacements. So it was a change of pace, so they kind of had a good camaraderie with me, and it definitely made it a little bit bearable. But I had some great physicians and physical therapists that helped me get through it all, and yeah.
Well, it's time for us to head to break, and we'll be back with Angie. Hey everybody, we're here at Penn Cinema to find out what everyone's been talking about. Excuse me, why do you choose Penn Cinema?
I like the seats. They're really comfy. They're a lot nicer than most other places. Here's my house.
Oh, this place is great. I mean, it's popcorn. Got some, we got a slushy machine over there. We got 3 clocks. 3 clocks for the Lidditz, the Lancaster, and the F for the time, just in case, you don't know what time it is in your area. That's why I love this place. They think about everybody, very friendly.
Has a nicer environment.
It's clean and comfortable. It feels independent. It doesn't feel like part of a system. It feels like as big as it is and as polished as it is, that it feels independent,
Bigger screen, better quality.
So it's really close. It's very clean. We come here all the time.
What do you like about Penn Cinema?
The seats are my favorite thing. Very comfortable. On the rump.
3D IMAX, the whole shebang. It has a down-home feel, and we love the atmosphere that Penn has created. He really tries to take into account what people want in a theater.
It's really clean, and the seats are really comfy.
Yeah, I like the seats. It's the best movie theater to come to.
Well, you've heard what they have to say. Now come see for yourself. Check out Penn Cinema for first-class movies in a first-rate theater. Located at 541 Airport Road in Lidditz, PA. And welcome back to the Lancast with Angie Piazza. Angie, you and I have known each other for a majority of our lives.
20 years.
Yeah. And one thing that we haven't actually talked about is that you have other complications in your life physically. Would you mind describing a little bit about what you live with on a daily basis?
Sure. I was born with a disorder called Morquio syndrome. It's very rare. It's a genetic disorder that causes the bones and cartilage not to form properly. So some of the common factors of that are short-statured, arthritis, just different complications. For example, less enamel on the teeth, eyesight problems, just random issues throughout the body that are dealt with as they come along. There's not a cure for this or something to slow the process from happening. It just is take it as it comes type of thing.
Well, Angie, over the years, obviously you've had to deal with some pretty difficult things. What are some of the big steps in your life that you had to cross, or what are hurdles even?
Well, throughout my growing up and all of that, I had several other surgeries, too many to keep count of, and I would have to deal with those while going to school, or just everyday life was difficult because of those operations. I had to stop my life and then start it again. I had to learn how to be humble and accept the fact that I couldn't walk in school anymore and shifted into a wheelchair and then run people over because they were getting in my way. Or in college, I had to have 2 operations, so I had to shift all of my classes around that, and I still was able to graduate in time. So even though there were things that I had to overcome, I always seemed to have the strength to get through them and keep moving in my life and not let it deter me and just sit in a corner and do nothing.
I remember, seeing you in high school, and you always seemed like you were happy for the most part. Is there anything, what was your inspiration? I mean, I asked this earlier about getting through the surgery, but really, what was the one thing, in high school, even before all of this surgery and what writing the book, that just really, kept your attitude positive?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. It's not something I can put my finger on. I think it's just the upbringing I had with my parents raising me in the church and going to a Christian school, so I didn't have the issues of people making fun of me, but instead they would help me and encourage me and get me from one place to the next. For example, I remember in 2nd grade, we would have people fighting over me to see who would be able to give me a piggyback next. So it was kind of a culmination of everything. Everyone around me was always positive, so I kind of just fed into that and learned quickly that it's easier to have a happy heart than just to be woe is me and kind of down all the time.
I always felt a certain amount of camaraderie with you growing up. My disability is not as pronounced, and most people don't notice about it until I say something. But a lot of times what I hear is, when I get questions, is, what was it like to live with that growing up and so forth. And what I say is, it's a part of my life, and I'm used to that. And I don't even, there are times, yes, that it causes challenges, but I almost don't think of it on attention span or anything like that. I just forget that people don't know, kind of thing. Have there been times in your life where you felt similar?
So sure, I have definitely have moments that I forget of all my starting over. Yes, I definitely have moments that I completely forget of my disabilities, and it's just the way of life, I guess. You have to kind of forget about it and just do what you can with what you've got. And for example, I would do dinner theater with everyone else and felt completely normal and not having any issues. I still got my driver's license and just everyday things I can still do. I just have to modify them, and it's become a way of thinking. It's a mentality for me. I don't have to, I have to think about my disability, but it's not in a way that people would think I have to think. I don't know. It's hard to describe. I just do what I can.
Do you find it hard, especially when interacting with people, especially newer people, and meeting new people, getting them to see you through your disability or seeing you instead of the disability?
I don't have a hard time with that. At least I haven't felt like I have a hard time with that. I think it helps that I have an outgoing personality and enjoy being around people and kind of know how to steer them in the way to make them feel comfortable. I think it's easier with kids because they're curious and straight up ask, why are you in your wheelchair? And I sometimes prefer that because you can give a straight answer, they get it, and they move on. Then they're on to, let's go do this or that. And with adults, they can be kind of nervous, or they want to kind of figure you out, but at the same time, they don't want to make you feel uncomfortable and embarrassed. So it depends on who I'm interacting with, and I kind of just play it by ear.
So Angie, we've been talking a lot about growing up and what it's been like. What do you foresee life in the future? What do you foresee? What's next?
Right now, I'm still concentrating on my book a lot and editing that, getting it out. My date to have that published and go live is the end of this year, so December 31st. After that's done, right now I'm not working, so I plan hopefully to find a job that is going to accommodate my needs. I used to be an analyst, so maybe something in that field, but I really take it a day at a time. I'm not too concerned with a year from now or 5 years from now. I am up for whatever comes my way and going with the flow of things.
Are there certain aspects of your rehabilitation that you have yet to achieve?
I continue to go to physical therapy to work on strengthening all my muscles that have kind of gone weak throughout the past 2 years from just having that paralysis issue, and that takes up a lot of time. But other than that, it's just keep moving and not letting things just go. It's just doing it.
So the book's available December 31st. Where can people get that?
I'm actually publishing it on my own, and it's through Amazon. So they'll be able to order it online. I'll also probably have a bunch available to sell directly. But anyone can go onto Amazon.com and look up Buoyancy by Angelina Piazza and get a copy of their own. And I'll sign it for you if you want.
Well, Angie, thanks for sharing your story with us and kind of opening up about some pretty personal things. If people would want to find you online to learn more about what you're going through, how can they do that?
You can contact me on Facebook. Just look me up, Angelina Piazza, or you can email me at angelinapiazza@gmail.com.
Thanks again, Angie, and we'll look forward to those signed copies of that book.
Thank you.
We hope you've been enjoying the Lancast.
This episode was produced by myself, David Moulton, with show notes by Keith and Lauren Slesser.
All pertinent links to this episode can be found in the show notes at thelancast.com.
If you specifically liked this episode, we ask that you consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps. Even $1 a show can keep us going.
If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by going to thelancast.com/donate.
And don't forget to subscribe in iTunes and tell a friend about the show.
So, for the Lancast, I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser.
Asking, are you in the cast?